It's the most natural flow in our journey as women through womanhood. Yet so many of us suffer in silence, and for most of us, we don't even know it's happening. Welcome back to yet another wonderful season, our brand new season 7 of Women Talk. I'm Anita Woo, and I'm delighted to be having these conversations that affect us all as women. Today we're talking about something that not many women know that they're even going through, or if they are, there's a lot of shame and secrecy about it. You guessed it, menopause. Today we have two very inspiring women with me on show today. We have Dr. Sangeet Kaur, an integrative holistic doctor, as well as Frankie Turner, who is a creative director and co-founder of Frankitas. Quick question. Where are you in your menopause cycle at the moment?
Let's see, it's a great question. I'm not even quite sure where I am at the moment. I'm on HRT. I am 8-9 months into HRT. After discovering that I am a perimenopausal woman, after having a ton of crazy symptoms. I'm in a much better place now because of HRT, but also some of the different things that I've had to change in my life. So for example, changing the way I exercise, the way I eat and drink, my diet essentially, and also the way I work.
Now, these are all very great points, Frankie. Thank you for sharing that. You got right into the meat of it. I think this is a question for the both of you as well. Like, why do you think, it's not just in our society, it's only very recently that we've heard celebrities from Hollywood, you know, talk about their journey through menopause, etc., that we're a bit more comfortable having the conversation. And this is exactly why you're here on the show today. Why do you think we still don't talk so openly about menopause? Is it because we don't even know we're going through it, or do you think it's a cultural stigma? Is there... What is it?
Okay, can I talk about myself?
Yes, please.
So I'm 54 and I menopaused 2 years ago. And to me, it was a very beautiful transition, perhaps maybe because I'm in this industry. So I kind of know how to balance my hormones. So it has been a total breeze. And my message to a lot of women out there is basically just be aware and seek help. You're never alone in this journey. And it'll be great if it could be a very smooth transition, because that's what we all aim for. Quality of life. Right? And women, we have got so much to contribute.
I think there's a misconception, you know, in the sense of women think that it's the end of something. It's kind of like an end of womanhood in some way. But it's so nice to have a different perspective in that actually, in that sense, I remember, Frankie, I mean, I've remembered this transformation of yours. You look suddenly super fit, etc. And it's kind of like if it wasn't for the fact that you were going through menopause, perhaps you wouldn't have gone through all of that as you know, as intensively, in a sense. Okay, so let's peel back a little bit so that our audience as well can understand a little bit better. How did you know that something was changing, or did you have a sense? I mean, because we all kind of had this idea of menopause. We just don't necessarily know when it's happening to us. Did you feel a certain type of way?
It didn't happen overnight, certainly, or a week, or a month, or a few months. I do remember having this really annoying, uncomfortable buzzing sound in my ear, and I needed to check it out because it was just irritating. So I went to the ear doctor and I said, "There's something wrong with me. I've got this buzzing sound." I got it checked, and they said, "There's nothing wrong with you." And I was like, "Surely that can't be."
So you checked for tinnitus.
Tinnitus. So after many months, finding out that I was going through perimenopause stages is tinnitus. So that was one of the first symptoms that I got, and it developed into skin allergies. I've never had allergies in my life.
That's very common.
Ever.
One of the symptoms, right?
Allergies.
It's the allergies.
Skin allergies, muscle, joint pains, and I exercise quite a bit, but I've never had that kind of joint and muscle pains combined together, and it would last for months. I'd have to go to physio, and it just didn't do anything. There was the brain fog, and I started feeling very sad. I started being really sensitive, like I would cry every day, and I would be really intolerant of stupidity or any form of stupidity. I was very short with everyone around me, my children, my husband, my colleagues. I would just be like...
It's like, who's this woman, right? What's wrong with mommy?
Yeah, and you know, I'm a very sociable woman. I like to socialize, and I talk to a lot of my friends. I go to a lot of social events, and all of a sudden, I hated everybody.
Yeah.
I didn't want to see anybody. I didn't want to go out. I didn't want to socialize. I became a hermit. And I was just thinking, I think I'm just getting old. That's what I thought.
Yeah. And I think this is something a lot of women can relate to, in a sense of like, you know, and through different phases. I think, I don't know, Dr. Sangeet, but are you also realizing that perhaps there's more incidences of women getting menopause younger these days?
Absolutely, yeah.
Can you talk to us about more of the signs to look out for?
Yeah. So now studies have shown, now usually, you know, the transition from perimenopause to menopause, it may take from 4 to 10 years, an average of 4 to 5 years. Now usually the average of menopause, it's about 51 years, but we are seeing that all the symptoms, all you're talking about, you know, the perimenopausal symptoms like insomnia, you know, low libido, irritability, body aches and pains. So among the Asian women, studies have shown that it's a lot of the headaches, aches and pains,
depression,
depression as well, but not that typical hot flush. Conventional will say you have to look out for hot flushes, right? But there are a lot of other symptoms that comes in, depression. And I'm seeing a lot of women who are diagnosed ADHD, perimenopausal and menopausal, you know, age. And can I tell you a secret? We always talk about estrogen and progesterone. So the estrogen is, you know, it regulates the neurotransmitter serotonin that keeps us happy, right? And progesterone, the other counterpart, that, you know, it regulates GABA. GABA is it stands for GABA-aminobutyric acid that keeps us calm, and you know we sleep better, right? But nobody talks about the testosterone.
Okay, so hold that thought, Dr. Sangeet. Testosterone on Women Talk.
So excited.
Yeah. No, which women have, which women don't, you know, realize the balance of. But we'll hold that thought, Dr. Sangeet, because there's much more to unpack just on this topic when we come back on this break. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to Women Talk. We are on a very exciting and important topic today, which affects us all as a community, not just women, but as a society. Menopause. So, sorry to have to cut you off earlier, Dr. Sangeet. Okay. Let's continue on how you're talking about how menopause, whether it's perimenopause, which is the earlier phase, or actual menopause, affects the woman's body, so we can have a bit more empathy towards ourselves when we're going through it.
So when you talk about hormones, so what makes a woman, the two main female hormones is the estrogen and the progesterone, right? So we talk a lot about those, but the one that is actually missed is the testosterone. And people always link that testosterone is for the libido. But when you're going through perimenopause or menopause, it takes away, the testosterone takes away more than just the libido. That's when the mental health comes in.
I see.
So testosterone, women require a very small amount, but that very small amount is so potent, it's so profound, it has on mental health. So it gives us the mental clarity, you know, when you talk about the confidence, the assertiveness, and when you talk about the brain fog, it has a huge, huge role. Okay,
you know, honestly, this topic is so vast, and I'm glad that we're touching on it, and I wish we had more time to go into further detail. But I think what we'd like to talk about as well is how women are going through this and they don't even realize it's happening, especially with perimenopause. By the time it hits you, you're like, oh, wait, I've just gone through perimenopause. You didn't even know that it's happened. Can you share a little bit more about what you've learned as a corporate woman, having your own business, and your journey having gone through this?
It was probably the toughest the last year or so has been the toughest ever in my life. And I always joke, it's probably worse than childbirth, because at childbirth, there's a lot of information, right? You talk to nurses, you talk to doctors, they equip you with all the knowledge, whereas menopause, nobody ever talks about it. Nobody talks about midlife, what happens to you physically, physiologically, mentally. Nobody, not even the doctors, not even about your folks. So you kind of have to find it out yourself. Oh, in my case, it was just by fluke, just having all the different symptoms. And then I realized there's something seriously wrong with me. And I thought I was going crazy. And I actually was in a really dark place. Now, I've never understood people who get anxiety. I've never understood people who get panic attacks. I don't know what that means. And I don't know what that looks like. I can't empathize until I went through it. What is wrong with me? I had heart palpitation, anxiety, and I was like, there's something seriously wrong. So I spoke to some people, one friend that was going through peri, and she says, I think you're going through peri. And that's when it hit me, and I realized, oh my goodness. And that's when I started to read. So I read a book called The Menopause Brain by Dr. Lisa Mosconi, who is a brilliant, brilliant author and a great doctor. And that really just armored me with a ton of information about the brain, about our emotions, the different hundreds of symptoms that you can get.
Because this is the thing that you're saying as well, right?
Yeah.
Not every woman will experience the same symptoms.
No.
And perhaps over a different stretch of time as well, and different periods. So thank you for sharing the great resources. I think this is a key point, that you've armed yourself with that knowledge and you researched that. Dr. Sangeet, with all the patients that you've seen and yourself in that journey, how do you advise women in terms of managing through this perimenopause and menopause?
Yeah. So to me, firstly, knowledge is power. Equip yourself. You got to get the support. You got to get yourself educated, and we are here. So now, I think one of the aims of having this talk today is basically to highlight, create the awareness, that how we can empower and educate our women. Now, you're going back to the medical school. We were not really taught much. We never really focused much on this menopause topic. It's always about the reproductive cycle, the reproductive health. Once you hit menopause, it's like there's not much, importance given to it. And I don't blame some of the doctors where they cannot really diagnose.
It's a systemic issue.
So, I have had, a lot of women where they come to me and they say, look, the uncommon symptoms are like frozen shoulders, and some of them, they have got this very crawly sensation on their skins, and a lot of women, they don't talk about it because they feel, they are told it's in your head, and then they are referred to psychiatrists. So I really feel a lot for those women. And then they have burning sensation in your tongues. So who would
in your
ever
lungs?
Tongue. It's like, it's burning sensation. So a lot of women, they tend to suffer in silence because they were like, what's happening? But you know what? Just they're in denial. They don't want to talk about it. By then, a lot of other symptoms would come in. They end up seeing a cardiologist because of the palpitations and, body aches and pains. They end up seeing an orthopedics. Then finally, when they come to me, I'm like, okay, let's go through all the details. It's good they've excluded a lot of, the other symptoms. We talk about the systems like the heart disease. Everything is excluded. So we go through the menstrual cycle, we go through the age, and then we take a very detailed history, and we do a blood test. Voila.
Thank you for mentioning that. It has to be tailor-made as well. It has to be very detailed, and it has to be custom-made. So we'll get back onto that topic. I'm so sorry. Time is flying by. There's so much to discuss on this topic, but we are going on a very quick break. Do stay tuned. So much more to unpack. You're back on Women Talk with a very hot topic, and I don't just mean hot flushes. No points for guessing. Yes, we're talking about menopause. And it's been a wonderful conversation so far with you guys. So insightful. I feel like we're rushing through all these topics, but thank you so much for being here and sharing your experiences and sharing your expertise as well. Going forward, how do you advise your friends now? What's your advice, having gone through this?
Well, I think don't limit yourself to an age of empowering yourself with knowledge, whether you're 30, 35, 40. I think you should already start reading and talking to women, talking to some specialists already. If you have some of the symptoms and you don't understand it, just go and see somebody. go and see a specialist or read up. I would highly recommend for every woman to read this book called The Menopause Brain by Dr. Lisa Mosconi, because it really changed the way I see my body and the way our autonomy works, how our brain works. And I think it's a very kind book because she also gives you not just a scientific perspective, but also a very thoughtful way to navigate how you can better yourself. You know, whether it's through exercise, through your diet, nutrition, your stress management, maybe change the way you work a little bit more. And I think us women, we're so hard.
Absolutely.
So hard on ourselves that we need to just go, I'm going through this stage now. I'm going to be a little bit kinder with myself. And, you know, we hear about women talking about self-care and self-love. It's not really about going to the spa. It's not really getting a massage and going to the nails, but it's really empowering yourself with knowledge so you can look after your own health
and well-being.
First and foremost. I think that's a key message. Get to know your body, get to know yourself, get to know your physiological side of you before you start going to the spa. You can go to the spa after that.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's us women who know ourselves best, right? So if things are changing and you don't even recognize yourself, and unfortunately, I think exactly as you said, lots of women go to generic doctors or perhaps some specialists for specific symptoms, and they don't even know that it's happening. And to go see a specialist, I think that is a great idea.
Or doctors who are trained.
Correct.
It may not really be a specialist. So, of course, we know we always recommend going to the gynecologist because you need to do, you know, your checkups and all that. But there are also doctors now who are trained. They are under the integrative medicine or functional medicine, where we are trained, you know, in all aspects of the body, not just part and part of the body, but holistically.
You know, some women are afraid of even looking into any kind of hormone replacement therapy, be it bioidentical or HRT. Can you talk more about addressing that fear? Or you know, and as a doctor, would you even recommend the option of, say, you know what, if you don't want to, you don't even have to? What are your thoughts on that?
So if a patient comes to me and they've got all the symptoms, perimenopause, or they have already menopause, you know, we'll go through the whole detailed history and then the blood taking, and then once when it comes to, you know, going through the profile. Now, if they have already menopause, so I will give them an option. If a person were not to take any hormones, that is also a choice, right? Because, you know, you want to address the other pillars such as the exercise, your diet, you know, your gut health, and your stress management. But there's one thing when it comes to the hormonal treatment. When I talk hormonal treatment, it could be another choice, right? You can go towards the synthetic, or you can go towards, you know, the plant-based, which is the so the bioidentical. Now that is also a choice. But I would always advocate women to start early, especially in the early phase of, you know, when you're perimenopause. See, perimenopause, you know, a lot of women, they tend to have a dip in their progesterone. So progesterone is one of the first hormones that actually dips quite rapidly compared to the estrogen or testosterone.
So that's being able to be picked up in the hormone test, right?
Absolutely. So if you're regulating, then you have a certain part of the cycles where we'll tell you, you come in, we do the blood test then, right? And we will explain as to why. Now, when a woman has already menopause, so for example, if she doesn't take any estrogen replacement or progesterone replacement, it's a huge disadvantage later on in her life when she's in her mid-60s, because that's when she's going to be hit hard. Now, the number one cause of death is not cancer, it's cardiovascular disease.
Oh dear.
So you have to start early to be able to prevent, you want to navigate. You know, dementia is going to kick in. You know, okay, so when it comes to American College of OBGYN, so they have highlighted, emphasized the indication of hormonal treatment. Number one, when it comes to vasomotor symptoms, meaning that, you know, if they have hot flushes, it's already an indication you start. Number two is prevention of cardiovascular disease. So I repeat, that's the number one cause of death, not cancer.
This is very good to know.
Number three is for the bone health, because you want to prevent the osteopenic osteoporosis. It's so important. And number four, it comes to we're talking about vaginal atrophy, where, it becomes dry, thin, and, discomfort, recurrent UTI, intimacy becomes an issue.
Right.
So those are all the indications. So women who are so fearful, and you know what, sometimes I feel sorry, I don't blame them because of all the bad reputation that hormone has had, that they're so fearful that they tend to, like, you know what, I think I can push through this. Yes, they can push through. They will not have the symptoms, but what's going to happen to them later? So my question to them is, how do you want to live the next 2 to 3 decades of your life?
Because we're living longer as well.
We're living longer. And you know what? Women have got so much to contribute at their workplace.
Oh, goodness. I mean, that's the other thing, right? I mean, if you've been able to make it through that period where you're perimenopausal and menopausal, through the corporate and through the work, and you've managed to make it through with grace, we deserve to continue to contribute to society.
Well, not just make it through, let's thrive in the next 2 decades. I don't want to live a normal, mediocre life when I can be thriving, right, Doctor?
Absolutely. So, and I always tell, I give them the analogy, I said, look, men, they thrive in their career when they hit in their 50s. And we women, we are knowledgeable as they are. We have got the experience.
Biological disadvantage.
Yeah.
but we can help ourselves.
Yes, we can navigate. So we are here to change that narrative. Right? There's something we can do about it. We can get help. We are not broken. It's not the end.
We're in the era of information.
Yes.
And we've got more and more people. I'm so happy to also know that in Malaysia there's more options for women now.
And also there is this telehealth platform. It's called the Menopause Asia. It's apparently going to be launched pretty soon. And it's first of its kind in Malaysia to help women who's going through this phase, who are transitioning. So we are here to help, medically, socially, to help them power through.
Available nationwide, this telehealth
It's going to be available, it's called Menopause Asia, so look out for it. And the founder is Joanne Ho.
On that fantastic news, Dr. Sangeet, thank you so, so much, both of you, for being here. I am so sad that we don't have an hour for this episode, particularly. At
10
least,
hours.
At least, I mean,
we can always do another.
Yes. And
Part 2 series.
Thank you so much for being here. And we really hope that the audience and you at home, that you've gleaned something from this episode today. Don't be afraid to have the conversation. Arm yourself with that knowledge. Just wrapping up. Go and see a specialist if you even have doubts. In any case, there's nothing to fear. It's the most natural thing. And you can thrive through it. It's not just something to go through, exactly as you said. Thank you very much. And stay tuned to TV3. Catch us next time on the next episode of Women Talk, only at TV3, 5 p.m. on Saturdays. Or stream now on Tonton.